And he was probably the happiest guy in the world that night, wasn't he, Hugh?
Oh.
Hugh and my dad and Mark Pattison and Wayne Hagan, who's Tiger, who's another great friend of ours, stayed up all night drinking margaritas and smoking cigars. Of course, I had to go to bed because I had to get up and prepare for the NFC Championship game the next Sunday. But that was a great night.
In the back patio there. But yeah, no, those are great memories. But what did Dad have to say? I mean, was it?
Dad was bothered. Very bothered, and he still is. As a matter of fact, I called him before I went to bed last night, and I just to check on him. This has really affected him. It's affected a lot of people, and but this is a tough business, and life isn't always fair, but life is good. So I'm going to try to look at it like that way, and I just want to, my concern is more for the people around me than for myself.
Yeah,
the people that worked for me. That are associated with me, my parents, my kids, my brothers, my friends, and I'll be okay.
Well, I go back to about a month ago when all this news with Mike Holmgren had started in Seattle, with Tim leaving and everybody wanting Mike and Mike wanting to come back and blah, blah, blah. I was telling people on the air I'd be shocked if Jim Mora was let go as the coach of the Hawks, because I had been basically told through the grapevine that Paul Allen had a great affinity for you, was a huge fan of yours, and wanted to see it through. And I think that's the way that you felt probably a month ago about the situation. Is that, I mean,
that was communicated to
right,
me. Yeah, that what you're saying was accurately communicated to me.
Sure.
And but things
yeah,
things change, as we know today, as we sit here.
What do you think happened? I mean, as you look back, and obviously it's hard to get into somebody else's mind. I mean, who knows what they're thinking? But was it the final 4 games? Was it the way those games went with the blowouts against Houston and Tampa Bay and Green Bay? Why do you think they changed their mind?
I would hope it wouldn't. I think you look at the person's body of work and the direction that we're headed, and everyone knows our problems were well documented. The issues that we had as a football team this last year were well documented. The changes that were taking place, the injuries we were overcoming, the play of particular players at certain times when we needed their best, not being their best, was well documented. And of course, I'm not absolved of anything, as the head football coach. So I'm not saying that, but I don't know what happened. I think that I don't know. I'm not the right guy to ask. You need to ask Paul Allen that.
Right. Were you shocked by this when
shocked? I was
Friday morning, right?
Blown away.
What happened? Tell us about the way that day went. How the meeting with Todd.
Well, I had a growing suspicion that something might be happening through the week.
Okay.
But then when I was asked to go do the press conference on Wednesday, and told, hey, take a deep breath, everything's going to be okay.
Who told you that?
Todd. Todd's a great man.
Right.
Todd's a wonderful person, classy. He's done a lot of great things for the city, in terms of the Sounders FC and the Seahawks and just things behind the scenes that people don't know about. But he's the kind of my communication, and talked to him on Monday, and I said, I'm going to go talk to Paul in L.A. and you just carry on.
This is Monday after the Titan game.
Yeah.
The day after that.
Yeah, so I was feeling like, okay, everything's good. And then I didn't figure I'd be put out to do a press conference if on Wednesday if things were going to change. That doesn't usually happen in this business. They they kind of fire you on Monday or Tuesday and then move on. Yeah,
there's a reason they call it Black
Monday. So I'm saying, okay, I'm in good shape. It's Wednesday, and I'm talking about the future, and I rehashed the season and went. But
let me go back there. I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you said by Tuesday, you say, okay, if I haven't had the nerves, I figure I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
That implies that at least there was a shred of just concern about the process.
Well, in this business, you never know what's going to happen. You could, there's been Marty Schottenheimer went 14-2, I think, and got fired. So,
that's a
who's
good point.
To say,
Excellent
who's
point.
going to say what's going to happen following any season? But my belief, and I'm not saying that I was led to believe this, but my belief was that, hey, we're gonna fix the problems we have. We have 3 high draft choices. We have some guys that were hurt. They're going to come back, and we're going to, make the appropriate changes that we need to make structurally, philosophically, schematically, personnel-wise, staff-wise, and we're going to forge on. And I went out Wednesday with that in mind. And so to say that I wasn't shocked on Friday morning would be a lie. I was, but I was feeling a little uneasy when I hadn't spoken to anybody between Monday and Friday.
Right. And what happened Friday morning? Take us through
Todd
Friday
came
morning.
in, and Todd's a good friend of mine, besides being, my former boss, he's a good friend, and he came in, and I could tell by the look. Came into my office about 9:05, and I could tell by the look on his face that he didn't have good news. And he said, "We're going to make a change." And we sat and talked for a few minutes, 20 minutes maybe, and he was emotional. He was upset. I wasn't. I've been through this. I'm prepared. I'm a man. I'm professional. And I think sometimes it's harder to be the guy bringing the news.
Well, you've had to
bearing the
do that
news
many
than-
times.
Yeah, it's harder to be the guy that's breaking the news rather than taking the news. And so anyway, here we sit.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, when you said, I mean, so what did he say? He said we're going to make a change, but
Said Paul wants to make a change.
said Paul wants to make a change.
Paul wants to make a change. Yeah.
And did he give any reason why, or was there any
No, not really. I
any
didn't ask.
amplification of that?
No. No, just felt like he wanted to make a change. Wanted to go a different direction, and I was very stunned, to say the least. And I indicated so. I've been in this business, like I've said, my entire life. 48 years. Every football season that there's every weekend that there's been a game during football season, I've had a game. Either my dad or myself that's meant something to our family. So I was really shocked. I've never seen this happen like this before. Where a guy gets 1 year, takes over a 4-12 team, goes 5-11, has some of the situations we had, and gets fired. So I was very stunned. I felt really, I don't know that it's even hit me yet. I still feel like it maybe is kind of a dream. Although when I went and cleaned out my office on Saturday, there was a little finality to that. And I'll miss everybody over there. There's a lot of great people in the Seahawks organization. A lot of just wonderful, wonderful people that I really enjoy and enjoyed spending time around. And that's something that I'll very much miss.
Let's take a short break. Grab yourself a glass of water. I want to come back and talk about the way the year went. I don't want to rehash everything that we talked about Wednesday at the press conference, but we'll go over a little bit of what 2009 looked like. I want to talk about your staff. I want to talk about what you're going to do next. I want to talk about your next step. The Seahawks moving forward. We obviously got to get your reaction to the news of the day with what the Hawks are going to do now moving forward. So more with Jim Mora coming up in studio next on 950 KJR. All right, 12:26 is the time right here on 950 KJR. I feel weird about this stuff, though. Can I mention that Pete Carroll has a press conference at 3 o'clock today in L.A.?
Can I mention the intensity of which you attacked that ad for Beery and Toyota? If I'd have known that you could speak with such passion, I'd have definitely had you in for pregame talks, because your face was red. I'm going to tell you what.
Angry.
Whatever they're paying for that ad is not enough.
Thank you.
Because
Thank
that
you.
was
Yes.
unbelievable.
Well, you're
Beery and Toyota, you are some lucky folks to have
You're
this
finding
man
out some
selling your
stuff
bread.
about me that you never
God.
knew was even possible.
Well, you know what? I don't know that I'm finding anything. I'm recognizing that you have a passion for your job that is probably much like the passion that I had for my job.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And as far as the pregame stuff, Lambright let me do that one time before practice.
Before practice.
Before
That's
practice. On the Goose Poop
You're talking
practice
about practice?
field. Remember, I'm talking about Allen Iverson practice.
Yeah, practice.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
But I'm with you. I mean, I ought to be in the locker room before a game getting everybody all jacked up. Hey, before we talk about your future and the Seahawks' future, let me just go back to 2009 a little bit, because I think anytime something like this happens, there's always one natural question, and that is, what would you have done differently? I mean, if some guys would say nothing, some guys would say everything. If you look back on it right now to keep Jim Mora coaching the Seahawks, what would Jim Mora have done differently, if anything at all?
Won more games.
Besides that,
specifically, I don't know yet. I haven't analyzed it to that point. I was in the process of analyzing it, and then that got
right.
That got sidetracked. So I'm not there right now.
Where were you in the process?
I was evaluating.
How
I was evaluating philosophy, scheme, and staff, basically, and players, and that's where I was. And I don't know that changes would or would not have been made. I don't even want to say right now. I don't think that that's the right thing to say. But I certainly had a plan going forward that I believe would have. I've done this before and had success, and I've turned around a franchise before, so I felt like I knew what I was doing and had a plan in place that would have certainly got us to where we needed to be. And it was just going to, it's going to take a while. It was going to take some time.
Right,
just some
right.
time.
Why didn't this team win more games?